guys, it has been a little bit of time since I've made a video. And I've been watching some videos. I've been really busy and I'm gonna make an update video separate from this. So for now, I'm just gonna stick to this tag. But I've been seeing a lot of tags on YouTube lately, and there's tons of tags. And usually I don't there's not very often a time where I'm like, oh, I need to do that tag. Oh, I need to do that tag. And usually they're tarot related, and I'm still learning about tarot, and I'm not 100% confident with tarot yet. So when I saw this one about oracle decks, I was super excited, because if anybody knows me, they know that I love oracle decks. So this tag is called #OracleObsessed, and the person who put this out was Imogen Walters, and I'm gonna make sure I link her video below. I watched quite a few other people's videos, but I haven't been commenting. I'm sorry. I do watch your videos though, but I need to do a whole day where I catch up on YouTube and comment, and because there's some great videos and some great tag responses and stuff. So anyways, let's get to the questions. So question one is, what was your very first oracle deck? And this is a hard question for me to answer, I know, but I didn't just get one at the beginning. I ordered 4 decks on Amazon, and they all came at one time. Because I had the Amazon Prime and everything, shipped within 2 days, and it all shipped together. The first deck that I did put on in my Amazon cart was the Sacred Geometry Oracle. So the Sacred Geometry Oracle. And I've talked about this deck before in other videos, because it was kind of the deck that got me into reading cards and being interested in that. And I first saw it on the show Ghost Whisperer, which I am obsessed with. But anyways, here's the backs. I'm not going to spend too much time on these cards, but there's a lot of sacred geometry in the cards, and I know there's a different version of this deck as well. Sorry guys. There's a different version. I think it's just in the red box. This is the blue box, and the red box has there's lots of cards like this in this deck. I'd say a majority of the cards are more shapes. But then you do get some cards like this as well. But I know that the red box edition of this deck, it has more cards like this, and I love this card, Crossing Over. Love this card. So anyways, yeah, this was my first deck that was like, oh my god, that's an oracle deck? What? And I put it on my cart, and then I just kept researching before I finalized my order. So the next deck that I put on, I believe, was, I don't know the order, but it's really hard to remember. I think it was the Oracle of Shadows and Light by Lucy Cavendish, I believe. And you know what? I don't really use this deck, and I never really did use it too much. It's a different type of art than I'm normally used to getting and liking, but there's just something about this deck. Here's the back, which I love. I love old-fashioned keys. It's just something, I just love them. But here's some of the images, and it's like those doll faces. I'm sure everyone's seen this deck before. This is one of my favorite cards. But it's like the doll faces with the big heads and the big eyes. And it was actually Racine from Alman 513. I remember seeing this card on one of her videos, and back when I first started looking into oracle decks, I was watching her videos quite a lot. And this deck came up, and she does like it. And I mean, I don't think I've ever done an actual reading with it, but the messages are pretty good. It is balanced with shadow and light, like the name would suggest. So I don't see myself getting rid of it, because I do like the art, but I definitely don't reach for it very often. So the next deck that I put on my list was the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid. And that's this deck right here. And I still like this deck a lot, actually. Here's the backing. And when I first saw these images, I was like, oh, that is what I want in an oracle deck. Yes, I'm so excited. And I was super excited to get it. And I used it a little bit, but the next deck I'm going to show you was definitely the one that won out between the two. Because I was like, oh, I want that Sacred Geometry deck just because it was on the show that I like, but I know I'm going to have to spend a lot of time to learn with it. So I'm just going to have that for now and maybe not use it, but I'm going to use this deck first. You know what I mean? That was my intention. And then that's enough of this deck. So then I found, after I had found this one, I mean, I had found this next one. It's the Enchanted Map, also by Colette Baron Reid. I had found this, but I'm like, I don't like it. I don't know. And then I ended up putting it on in my cart anyways. And when it arrived, I just ended up using this one. Here's the back. I would say that I like the images in the Wisdom of the Oracle better, and I feel like I've also talked about this on one of my videos before. But I don't know, I just used it and I flipped through it for the first time when I got it, and I was just really excited to just keep using it. And I spent quite a lot of time on this deck, and I know there's a question about how you learned Oracle cards later, so I'll talk about that after, but I ended up spending quite a lot of time with this deck. And I haven't pulled it out. Actually, it's been in the box for quite a while. I haven't pulled it out, so it's nice to pull it out and see some of these images. It's cute and sweet, I mean, and I think that's kind of why I've left it off to the side, because there is some shadow elements. I mean, Colette Baron Reid's pretty good at putting the balance in her decks, but they do look very only positive. Like, you don't see the shadow aspect reflected in the image very well. But her guidebooks are very extensive in explaining the meanings of the cards. So yeah, so that's the Enchanted Map. So yeah, I guess that answers number 1 for my first Oracle deck, actually 4 of them. But I guess officially we'll say the Sacred Geometry, because that's the one that started it all. I have decks everywhere. I'm just trying to get organized before I move on to the next question. Okay, so the next question is, what is your current favorite Oracle deck? And I am so excited about this deck, guys. I just got it in the mail yesterday, and if you see my Instagram, then you would know. Follow me on Instagram, by the way, Unfolding Soul. I'm trying to post more often. But anyways, back to the tag. I got the Oracle of Echoes yesterday. Super exciting. That's the backing. I've been wanting this for a really long time. There's the box. I've wanted this for a really long time, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finally get it. Because I do spend quite a long time deciding whether I want a deck or not. And then usually by the time I want it, I can't buy it. So that's what happened with the Connected and Free Oracle. But anyways, for the Oracle of Echoes, same thing happened, and I went to buy it and it was out of stock. Sorry, my cats are acting a little bit crazy. And then I think it was a few weeks ago now, I pretty much ordered it as soon as it went back in stock. So, and I know that she sold over half of those already. So if you want your hands on this deck, then I would go over there right now. But I absolutely love it. I've done some readings with it already. I went a little bit crazy. If you've seen Elisa's video on this deck, she went a little bit crazy with this deck when she first got it that first night, and it kept telling her to go to bed. I feel like I was Elise, and I kept just asking it questions, and some of the questions and messages that kind of came up were a little bit scary. Like, this deck goes deep, and I'm super, super excited for that, because you really often don't get that with Oracle decks, and it makes me a little bit sad, and it turns people off of them, because most Oracle decks, when they think of them, they don't think of a deck like this. They think of a deck like filled with affirmations. But this deck is absolutely beautiful, and I'm so soapy. I'm so soapy. I'm so happy that it's in my collection, and I might have to get another copy. So yeah, that's the Oracle of Echoes. That deck's gonna come up again, so we won't go through all of those cards yet. So for question number 3, we have our most used deck. And for me, I'd say that it would be a tie between 2 decks. And the first being the Messenger cards by Sandra Coons. And here's the back of those. And I've talked a lot about these cards before. This is a new setup for me filming here. I'm like right by a window with natural light, and I'm just trying to figure it all out. So, but I absolutely love these cards. I use them a lot, just like the Enchanted Map. And I know it talks about, there's another question about how you learn, so I'll elaborate when we get to that question. But this deck is absolutely, it's been so amazing for me and my journey, just myself spiritually, and so I really feel like this is a self-love deck, and that's kind of because of the workshop that I went through, which I have talked about, and I'll talk about in another question here. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's just animals, which I never thought that I would actually like. I mean, I love animals, but I didn't think that I would like a deck based on animals, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And the book, there's a little guidebook, like it's just a paper pamphlet, a little bit more than a little white book, but it's a decent book, and everything that's written for each card is absolutely beautiful. It's just an amazing deck, so I love it. It has a little spot in my heart. So yeah, those are the messenger cards. And then I also right before, I would say connected and free would be my other most used deck. I was using the messenger cards a lot, pretty much every day, and that was like my deck that I would always go to. And then I got this deck, connected and free, I would say at the end of December, or maybe, or I know I ordered it before Christmas, so the end of the year, beginning of the year. And ever since I've had this deck has kind of changed and been my go-to deck. So I probably use the messenger cards more at this point, but these are both definitely my most used. And I've talked a lot about this deck too. You guys are gonna know. I won't say too much about this, but I'm super, super happy that Patrick and Kelly from The Truth and Story have finally jumped the gun on this deck, because it's absolutely amazing. And I know Patrick was always commenting and saying, oh, you're gonna make me buy this, and I finally did. I was so excited. So if you want to see more of this deck, then I would highly recommend Patrick's video where he compares all 3 different iterations of the deck. So yeah, love this deck. You guys all know that. Now my least used deck was, I do have quite a few of Oracle decks that I don't use a lot, and there's 2 decks that I finally narrowed it down to 2. There are other decks I wanted to share because I'm like, oh, I don't use those enough. But these 2 are the decks that I don't use really ever, and I don't have really the desire to use them. There's other decks that I don't really use that I would love to use in the future, so I've left those ones out of this list. So I have the Psychic Tarot for the Heart Oracle deck. I know it says tarot, but really it's an Oracle deck. I'm not sure how many cards. Oh, there's 65 cards, so it's definitely an Oracle deck for me, which we're going to talk about Oracle and Tarot in another question too. All these questions are linking together. It's kind of hard. So yeah, here's the backing of that, and they're gilded. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with this deck. Like I've done, when I first got it, I did some readings with it. I worked with it for, a few days and then moved on. And I got some decent readings out of it, but the artwork in this deck, it's not my thing. It doesn't speak to me. It's just kind of really basic and nothing unique about this deck, and I've never really pulled it back out after that first week. So I should really make a trade list on Facebook and try and get rid of some of these decks. Give it to someone who actually use it and appreciate it. I appreciate it, but I don't use it, so yeah, that's a Psychic Tarot for the Heart Oracle deck. And then right when I was first getting into cards, my friend, I think she went to like a garage sale, or one of her friends was cleaning out stuff, and there was like this big bag of cards. There was a whole bunch of different cards. I pretty much got rid of all of the other decks because they weren't jiving with me, I guess. But this one for some reason I've kept, and I do need to get rid of it. It's not like my favorite, but it is the Magical Mermaids and Dolphins Oracle deck. Yes, by Doreen Virtue. And I don't think I've ever really flipped through this. But, I mean, this is just how I feel about Doreen Virtue. I don't mean to offend anybody, and it's not about her, it's just the decks in general. They're not my thing. So, but here's the backing of that. And I would say that these are a little bit different than a lot of Doreen's decks, and maybe that's kind of why I kept it. Like, the artwork I'm not a fan of at all, but a lot of her decks are like half picture and then half words, whereas this one is kind of more like a one sentence at the bottom instead of like a whole paragraph, which is kind of better for a Doreen deck. I do have another deck by her, and it didn't make this list because it didn't match any of the questions, but it's the Daily Guidance from Your Angels Oracle deck, and it's in a purple box, and I use that here and then, but and it has that half and half picture, half text thing, but I don't know, I feel like I just want to have one of those and I don't really need any more, and I don't pull it out that often anyways, only when I really, really feel like I need the love. See, and there's something wrong here. Like, the words are cut off and the whole card's moved over. I mean, this is definitely an old deck. Alright, so yeah, Magical Mermaids and Dolphins by Doreen Virtue. So question number 5 is, how did you learn to read Oracle cards? So like I said before, I was searching on YouTube for oracle cards and how to read oracle cards and all that stuff, right? And looking at decks and stuff. And basically the first person that I came across was Racine from OwlMoon513. Sorry about the kitties. And I just love her energy, and she was so welcoming and so knowledgeable, and I just got sucked right into her channel, and I watched a lot of her videos. And at the time, she had a playlist, I think she still does, going through like this, like using an oracle deck, and she had different steps every week, and like a check-in thing. And this was years ago that she had done this, but I had come along and, you know, I wanted to learn oracle cards. So I went through that. And that's when I used the Enchanted Map deck. So she had this, you know, you'd have to journal, and she would have prompts and little things like that, and doing daily draws and that kind of thing. So I did that with the Enchanted Map, and then she had announced that she was going to do a workshop with the messenger cards. So that's why I got the messenger cards, and I did the majority of that workshop, and did a lot of journaling, and you know, it was an extensive workshop, and I really thank Racine for that, because she really helped me learn what I could do with oracle cards and not just use them for divination reasons. Question number 6 is, what do you use oracle cards for? And I'm not crazy. All I do is I use them like to read for myself. I use them to read for others. I would do full readings for other people with oracle cards. Daily draws. I've done daily Instagram draws before, or daily readings on Instagram. I'd like to get back into that because it definitely gives me practice and helps me a lot. Question number 7 is, how do you read the cards? Do you use your intuition? Do you use the guidebook, or both? I use both. Lately I've been trying not to use the guidebook as much. It depends on the deck though, for sure. If I was to use the Sacred Geometry Oracle, I would need the deck right beside me, and that's kind of scary. There's so much going on. That's why I haven't started with that deck yet. With the Connected and Free Oracle deck, I'm just using my intuition. Sometimes, like, I've read the book, so sometimes like I will refer, like I would say maybe 10% of the time I might refer to the book if I'm like, what are we talking about here? But for the most of the time, I don't even use the book. And that's what my goal is with my decks. And with the Oracle of Echoes, I just got yesterday, and I've had amazing readings with the Oracle of Echoes. And I know that there is an online PDF guidebook for the Oracle of Echoes. I haven't even downloaded it yet, and I've been reading with the cards and having an awesome experience. So I try a lot to rely on my intuition versus the books, because, you know, I want to deepen my intuition with practice. So that's what I do for the most part, is use my intuition. Question number 8 is, do you use spreads? And yes, I do use spreads. I use any spread. Like, I have a spread called I have a book called Tarot Spreads, and I use tarot spreads that are meant for tarot, and I use them on oracle cards, and it works out just fine. Like, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that say that well, I know these are people's opinions, right? So they're not telling you what to do, but I know people do say that they can't, or they don't do full readings like that big full spreads with oracle decks, because the decks that they have don't have the balance. And I definitely have to disagree, because there are decks out there that have the full emotion and the full experiences that are included in tarot. So yeah, I use any and every spread, and it doesn't matter to me. So question number 9 is, do you mix oracle cards with other divination systems? Tarot, Lenormand, runes, etc., I think is the question. Yes, I do, but I don't read too much tarot at the moment. I've kind of pushed that to the side for now, because I really want to do a structured learning plan with that, and I'm not really having the time for that. So I don't really read too much tarot, but in the past I have added a couple oracle cards to a tarot reading for sure, but that doesn't happen very often. I pretty much, as of lately, just am using oracle cards on their own. So question number 10 is, what makes a great deck in your opinion? And I have some notes here, a couple notes. So obviously number 1 would be, the images have to appeal to me, and there isn't like a specific art style that I prefer. I mean, if I like the image, then I like the image. If I don't, I don't. There isn't anything specific that I would be like, oh, just because it's watercolor, I don't like it. There's decks that have watercolor in them that I don't like, and then there's decks that use watercolor a lot that I absolutely love. So it has nothing to do with that. It's just the images speaking to me in general. And another thing that I like to see, if decks are using like people, it's nice to see the diversity and ethnicity. I know a lot of people talk about that, and that's definitely important for sure. I mean, and I also think that the diversity in religious beliefs and a deck being able to service people of all walks of faith and all walks of beliefs, you know, people that don't have religions, they can still take from that deck. That's a deck, in my opinion, that that's very inclusive of anybody that wants to use it. The way that I see oracle cards are, you know, a full deck of cards that's going to help you get to the bottom of an issue or give you a message of some sort. You know, my goal is to read for others, and if I'm using a Mother Mary oracle deck, even if it's telling me the same thing, it's kind of like, well, Mother Mary says this, and you know, that's the way it should be because it's Mother Mary, you know, like you have to trust Mother Mary, right? Like, and I get that for some people, but for me, I wouldn't want that, and I wouldn't want to have people that I read for feel not offended, but maybe uncomfortable. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand with that. And obviously, I would want to have, and this is talked about a lot, I've seen a lot of people mention this in their videos to this response, a balance of light and shadow cards. And I know that a lot of people talk about why they don't use oracle cards for a full spread or a full reading, and I understand that because there are tons and tons and tons and tons of decks that are like just based on affirmations, and it's all good. The whole entire deck is just telling you, you know, you may be stuck, but it's going to be okay. Like, well, maybe it's not going to be okay, and you have to do some work in order to make it okay and to get past it and move forward. You can't just sit there and, oh, it's going to be okay, and, you know, do nothing about it. So, and I see where people are coming from when they say that oracle decks aren't going to tell you that, or only certain oracle decks, but that's a thing. A good oracle deck, in my opinion, is going to give you exactly what you're going to get from a tarot deck, and I think that it's 100% possible to do that. Just my opinion. And question 11 is asking what the difference is between oracle and tarot, and I mean, I kind of just talked about it. I believe, like, I think that it's all oracle. Tarot isn't oracle. It's a system. Tarot is a system that is meant to incorporate, you know, experiences and emotions that we experience in this physical human existence. And there are oracles out there that do the exact same thing. But I think that a lot of people think that oracle decks, and they are too, they're both. Oracle decks are so diverse. I mean, if you take oracle, and then we have tarot over here, and then we have affirmations over here, and then we have, like, what would you call the Oracle of Echoes? Like, it doesn't even have a heading, like, light and shadow balanced oracle deck, affirmation deck. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different system, in my opinion, even though it doesn't have a set structure. But anyways, let's get past and move on to the next question. So the next, what number are we on? We are on number 12. So, do you have any super unusual or unique decks? A few months ago, and I really haven't used it, but I'm excited to. I've used it a couple times. It's called the Mixed Emotions deck, and it's an oracle deck. Like, this is another system of oracle decks. And so here's the backing. So it's just like, it's almost like flashcards or playing cards. Like, it's a really thin card stock. I don't even know how many cards are in here, but each card just has an emotion on it and then some keywords at the bottom. So this one has jealous at the top, and then it says envious, suspicious, and possessive at the bottom. And Power Femme Tarot here on YouTube has a really, really great video on this deck, and she's the reason why I got it. I'll remember to link that below because she talks about a lot of ways that she's used this deck. And I know that sometimes, well, actually I can think of one particular time that I was feeling unsure about how I was feeling. So I grabbed this deck and I went through every single card, and I was like, oh, I definitely feel some of that, and I just laid them all out, and then I went through and I kind of picked some cards that were kind of the opposite and kind of how I wanted to feel, and then I did a reading, and it kind of went from this to that. So that's one way that you could use it, because sometimes you just don't, there's so many ways to feel, and sometimes you just don't know how you feel. So I think it's a good way to go through, it's a good thing to go through this deck and be like, you know what, I do feel like that. So yeah, I think this deck is definitely interesting. But again, I would call it an oracle deck with a different system, right? So question number 13 is, what is your current favorite? What is your current favorite? What is your current deck crush? I guess that's a question. So I would say Oracle of Echoes. This question, I don't really I understand the question, but people are answering it differently. So in my opinion, this was my crush up until 2 days ago, and now we're dating because we're right here together. We're experiencing and learning together. We're dating. We're at the beginning of a great relationship, right? I have a crush on a deck that I'm not with right now. I think that makes a little bit more sense. I don't have the deck, so I have a crush on it, right? So I really, really, really like the Sacred Creators Oracle. I really want it so bad, and I know it's a limited time. I'm gonna have to order it within the next couple weeks, hopefully, because I really, really want that, and I don't know if she's gonna be printing any more editions, so fingers are crossed for that. Yeah, I can't wait for that. So question number 14 is, if you could only choose to have one Oracle deck forever, I think that was the question, what would it be? And I am just so in love with my new boyfriend that I have to pick the Oracle of Echoes because I just love it, guys. It's so balanced with light and shadow. I really feel like I could use this deck to read for anything. And I'm going to. I'm definitely going to have a fun experience with this for the next little bit. I feel like I'm just going to work with this one exclusively for a little while and do some journaling and really get to know it. But just look at these images, guys, like, But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry this is a little bit long. It's been a while since I've made a video. I'm just getting back into the groove, you know. I hope you have a wonderful day or afternoon or evening or night or whatever it is for you, and I will see you in the next video.